Alright, hi everyone. My name is Luis. This is discussion 3, Developer I. Selected a particular scene from the movie Die Hard, which some of you might recognize. So let's get to it. The first thing that the studio did was take a live recording of the scene you guys see here. Cannot actually show you the video, but this is the picture we're going to be working with. And by the end of it, we hopefully will get a better understanding on how things are done while comping. Basically, from here to here, there are a couple steps that could be pretty much repeated and refined a lot. So for this slide, you can start seeing there's a couple of things missing between each of them, and this one we don't have a car, and then also this other what appears to be traffic, some sort of traffic, is also removed. Oops, sorry about that. This might be either a roto or a model builder, but let's move on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So the first thing that I notice is that they take the scene and they create a roto around the parts that interest them, that is of their interest. I'm sorry. So in this case, we see the normal black screen, which is typical of any roto and primo nodes done before in Nuke. Further along this pipeline, we see that there's some basic, well, not basic, but there are some tracking and match movements, and also some model building compared to the previous one. Moving along, we see that they have used a set of cards, or what appears to be a card. You can see this portion right here being different from the rest of the scene. Take the plate, and also a lot of texturing, which might have been done with either a 3D projection or texturing the models or cards. As you can see, from here to here, we start to see how the studios took in mind the lighting set or the atmosphere. So a lot of color correcting, filters to make the scene more believable from this portion of the footage, the main footage, the original main footage. So all this section here was basically retouched and refined. So you can see as we move along to slide 5, the magic of computer graphics starts to show up. This is a really impressive model. A lot of effort was put in this one. Some texturing as well. So at this point you guys might be wondering, why is this car going through nothing and just basically jumping while being off balance? Well, here we start seeing that the studio created on top of the of the vehicle an auto model, which is base, which work as the base for the simulation, which you guys will see in a bit. This simulation before, or let's say, yeah, before actually being comped, it was retouch, texture, and a lot of reflection lighting setup was done to make it even more believable, taking in mind the depth and distance from the camera. Also, these lines were not before in the street lamps and the lightings. I mean, the cables here, electricity cables, were also not on the original footage. They were actually modeled and comped in this plate. So this is a basic model building which later on had a lot of work. We see some new props here being introduced to the scene, which are also taking in consideration the match movements, the trackers from the original footage. So at this point, I would say that the quality of this scene is starting to shape up. Starting to see that this is taking actual life. It's looking real, except for a couple of details that we can notice. But so far, this is an impressive work. So from there to here, you guys start to see that the simulation starts to overlap the scene and take a huge chunk of the actual canvas on this picture. This simulation is pretty fantastic, to be honest. The way it explodes, the debris, just the basic simulation texturing. I'm guessing that it must have taken a lot of time, but it was another step that is definitely necessary for anything believable at this point, with this type of explosions or crumble of the wall from the vehicle going through it. This part, I'm guessing this roto that the company or the studio created was to actually do some refinement to the simulation separately, and also to include and comp smoke simulation. It's also funny that this smoke and the debris are not actually shown together, in this picture, because I wanted to actually show you guys that they are done separately. Smoke, the debris, the dust that also comes from these explosions are all done separate and then come together with roto and premodes. So after that simulation is done, still don't see the smoke and the complete explosion, but we'll get to it. This is an important part that most of us actually don't take into consideration, and is the motion blur, ambient occlusion of the objects. Let me go back just a couple slides. Yeah, so you see here that you can actually see the cars with the same values, or I will call it same contrast, maybe same saturation of colors. And then here you see that this motion blur, ambient occlusion, the way the lighting is actually affecting this vehicle compared to the distance of the camera from where it's at, it's changing the color density, so for to speak. There was also some minor changes to the other props around the scene. I don't know if you guys actually did notice them. But anyway, let's just move on and make this as less painful as anything. So the camera filters were one of the last steps included into the scene. Oh, my bad. Camera filters were the last thing added to the scene to actually boost the contrast of the picture and make it even more believable, because it actually creates an atmosphere to it. So yeah, some more light emphasis on the cars, and the light balls of the cars. And this is one of the final cleanup parts of the process, where they start to set up the screen resolution, or, well, not really a screen resolution, but they kind of created a film gate, sort of speaking, to adapt it to the final movie. And voila, here we have our smoke simulation that I showed previously. And what happened to our big truck, armored truck. So yeah, as you can see, the difference is huge in terms of from what we started by just having a simple footage, which was roto. Of course, this pipeline is easy to look at, but while working at it, I'm assuming that this took a couple of months to get to this quality. So recapping, and also to kind of close up this presentation, we have, oh my god, my mouse, sorry. We have that the first thing that they did was take the footage, then did some match moving refinement with the trackers, solving and model building the geometry needed for that shot in particular. And you can see that also the simulation was added to it while being focused by the camera. As long as the pipeline flowed, sort of speaking, we have the texturing, simulation, and refining. This is the second huge process, and the most important one, to be honest, as long as I also include the lighting somewhere around here, because these are the tools that make our scenes more believable. And finally, the application of the atmosphere, the components of the distance from the camera, the way that light actually works and surrounds an object, some boosting of the colors, some emphasis on certain things, and a lot of retouch. But in the end, these two single takes must have been taken a lot of time. And it's really amazing what at this point we can do with the tools we know, and as long as we have the determination and focus to complete it. Keep it in mind, being honest, that our scenes need to be real to actually entertain or captivate our audience. So that's it, guys. I hope this has been a short presentation. I hope it works. Thank you, and yeah, see you guys next time.